teacher.
Hello, teacher.
Yes,
teacher, I can hear you.
Sorry, teacher, that I'm late because now I'm on the way from Kampong Chinang to Phnom Penh, so the signal is not good, teacher.
Chờ nhưng lại nâng lên tiếng chờ. Tôi mà to té.
Con thấy ai ở internet chờ một cáiបញ្ហាអី
Teacher បាទជាលឺពួកយើងនិយាយតែគាត់ពុំមានបញ្ហា
កុំភ័យហើយអានេះគឺមក
He might got a bad connection at his area.
Hello?
Hello, teacher.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Hello,
Yes,
do you
sir.
hear me? Do you hear me?
here. Yes,
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Okay, it seemed like I tried to speak without mic and then everybody not hear me. So I use the mic and then you hear me. Something strange happens. Okay, that's fine. It's no problem. So we can start. Can you roughly explain what we have talked by yesterday? Yeah, can you just share us?
We were discussing about the argument.
Okay, yeah. Could you discuss a little bit about arguments? Talk about arguments.
Like something that that's not logic to the question, or yeah, something like that.
Okay. Yeah. Can you just explain a little bit about arguments? maybe just talk and explain a little bit about arguments.
I give the chance to my friend.
Okay, please. Yeah. Who want to share about arguments and what is like? What is it like? We have discussed a lot about it yesterday, and we move on, and we almost we also discuss statements, something that is not called arguments, and you notice that argument is different from statements. Okay.
Hello, good evening, teacher. Can I try? Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Teacher, for me, relate to argument. You have explained. Yeah, you explained yesterday. Relate to argument mean everything that other people they give the reason, and then we define. We define in order to know that the reason is acceptable or not, and then we give the reason back. Yeah.
Yes.
The objective mean we want to define. We want to know the other argument is acceptable or not. Mean like that. This point.
Okay. Yep. Somebody else. So we have.
Yes, me, teacher.
Yeah, please. Yes.
Yeah, according to the lesson tomorrow, we discuss about argument.
Yes.
And argument that we try to talk. What that I remember about your spike teacher and other member here. So we try to understand the meaning of argument. Whether like we are afraid that we learn critical thinking and then we misunderstand about that. And the argument that what that you said is focus about the sentence from other people that they talk to us, and then they are logical or not. We try to understand the sentence that they are talking. Yeah.
Thank you. It's not about sentence, or it's not about words, but it's about the meaning, the reasons, the claims. When we talk about that, it's all about claims. Whether the claims is defended with reasons, and that reason, when we hear that, we see that whether that argument is somehow logical, or we can say acceptable, and we evaluate that. Maybe we say that it's not really enough in that argument, and you need to add more information in that statement or argument in order to make sure that the arguments or the claim that provided previously was acceptable or not acceptable for you. So that's what we mean by arguments, right?
Yeah, teacher. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Somebody else you want to share? No. Oh, okay. So that is all about argument, and we can also know that the argument is like a group of statements that one or more of which are intended to prove or support another statements. Okay. So that what we discussed yesterday. Somehow the statements or some sentences cannot be arguments. Now let's see, like red is a color, it's kind of a statement. God does not exist, it's a statement. I just move on. If you have any question, just let discuss. So four things should be noted about statements. First is a sentence may be used to express more than one statement. So it can be statements like, for instance, roses are red and violet are blue. When you hear that statement, you might feel like it's true. If it is going against the nature, the reality, you feel like curious. And then you started to give your reason. You supports that statement, additional claim or coming, and then this become the argument as what we said. And the second thing is a statement can sometimes be expressed as a phrase or an incomplete clause rather than as a complete declarative sentence. For instance, with mortgage interest rate at 30 years low, you owe it to yourself to consider refinancing your house. It's kind of like just an example discussion of the statements. Okay, but it seemed like it is having some part of the arguments inside it. Third, not all sentences are statements. Okay, not all sentences are statements that make it as the arguments. For instance, we say, "What time is it?" It's a question. "Hi, Dad. Close the window. Please send me your current catalog. Let's go to Mainz Paris with me." Kinds of proposal. Insert tab A into slot B as an instruction, especially for those who learn IT and you need to do like plug in something in the computer hardware, or my goodness, kind of exclamation. So all that are not statements. So finally, statement can be about subjective matter, personal experience, as well as objective, verifiable matter of facts. So it's kind like for example, some exercise we can say. So good evening. What is it? Is it statements or exclamation, or I can say greetings, right? We say it's greeting from the good evenings. What are you doing? Question, right? Funny your question, just asking people. And how beautiful your daughter is! Exclamation.
Exclamation.
Please help me to do this exercise. Okay. So if you see this, you might feel that it's a sentence. Do it or you will be punished. Or you will be punished. It's a sentence, but the one that you say do it or you will be punished, you feel like it's kind of a little forcing, but it's exclamation marks, exclamation. So that is a sentence. So a rhetoric question is a sentence that can have grammatical form of a question, but it's meant to be understood as statements. Some of the example we talked yesterday is called rhetoric questions. For instance, Asaya, you should quit smoking. Don't you realize how bad that is for your health? This is some kind of the reason to explain, because we know that the statement fall into explaining, giving more reasons, judging some of the practice of individual persons with some of an idea of urging somebody not to do some things. So that is what we call arguments. A sentence that looks like a command or suggestion is really an art of imperative. The key question, what someone should or ought to do. For instance, do not read beauty magazines. They will only make you feel ugly. So it's kind of like it's a command. It's a command. The second one, close the window, John. It's freezing in here. So it's kind of exclamation, expressing yourself. If you see in the example of 1 or 2, it's kind of like it's imperative. You have to do it. You have not to do it. Or you ought not to do it. Sorry, I just moved on a little bit since we have talked yesterday a lot already. So imperative sentences are not statements if they are intended as order. Okay? So if the imperative sentences are not statements, if they are intended as order, they suggest, they do proposals, or exhortation. So they are statements if they are intended as pieces of advice or value judgment about what someone ought or what someone ought not to do. Okay, so it is not statement for this imperative sentences, because statements it link with what we call the arguments. So if you listen to it, you feel like it is an order, you feel like it is a suggestion, you feel like it is proposals, then it's not statements. Yeah, so we can identify in the argument, we can identify some of the indicator words in the arguments by understanding the premise and the conclusion. What is the premise and what is the conclusion? Before we talk about premise and we talk about conclusion, I would like to say that there is no translation for the term premise in Khmer for critical reasonings. I don't know whether many of my professors could translate the term premises or premise in Khmer in philosophy. I don't know whether they have the we can say dictionary in philosophy dictionary or kind like some kind like that for our language, but it's hard to translate for the term premise. But we can notice that premise indicators to know that it is the premise of the arguments. For instance, we have for or since, because, for, given that, seeing that, considering that, in view of the fact that, as intended by, judging from, that being the case. That being the case. Judging from or that being the case. So if you started to see this term or kind of phrases in the statements, in the sentences, you notice that, that is the premise. And then you can find where the conclusion is in that sentences, so you can make sure that that is the statements, that is the arguments a person is giving. Like for instance, in this example, let's say having fun can be spice of life, but not its main course, because when it is over, nothing of lasting value remains. So this is based on like Harold Kushner. So from because when it is over or nothing of lasting value remain is the premise. Is the premise. Okay, you get my point? Sorry, you get my points? It's hard to understand, right? Sometimes it's a little hard to understand. Even we know this in the slide, it seems like it's hard to understand. No one understand that. Nothing at all. Complicated. Yeah, it seems to be complicated. Hello, do you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, teacher.
Yes,
Yeah.
teacher, I do.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So, in this regard, I don't know how much you understand that, but just let me know. If not, then I just move on and we will discuss a little more later after these explanations again. Okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
teacher.
So, yes, there are also some of the term noting about the conclusions of that statement, or we say arguments. For instance, we say therefore, thus, hence, consequently, so, accordingly. It followed that for this reason, that is why, which show that, wherefore, imply that, as a result. This suggests that this being so, you want people to be honest with you, so be honest with them. It's giving an impressions to the person. When you listen to that, you feel like, yeah, it is the arguments. It is the arguments. Okay? It is the arguments. It have some, even it seems to be some of impression in that, but it provides you some sense within that, especially easily to see. You can see the conclusion indicator so. You can see the indicator so. Yeah, indicator conclusion indicator so. The term so here, it tell that, yeah, it is the conclusions. I know that when you learn critical writings or essay writing, it gives you some ideas about it as well. Now let's try together to see this statement. Identify the following in conclusion, premises and conclusion in the following argument. One is, seeing pain is a state of consciousness, a mental event. It can never be directly observed. It can never be directly observed. You see that scene, notice here, right? That is what is it? What you want to share? No, Celine, you talk.
No, teacher.
Okay, so you see that is the premise indicator word, right? So you cannot step twice in the same river. That Heraclit have talks. He is also one of the famous philosopher. For other water ever flowing onto you. So actually, the original original sentence is, you cannot step twice in the same river. That Heracles word. Heracles word. So it seemed like that is the argument explaining only, even it seemed to be only the sentence, but there is a reason that water is not the same. Even you go in the same river, in the same place, but water is flowing, and a new water is coming. So that is what he is explaining. But we can see it through the term for the premise. Business is the art of growth. Growth is the action of life, and so our answer quickly follow. Because, business is the art of life. If you started to see that, you can see, so our answer quickly follow. Business is the art of life. It's showing that the conclusion indicator appear here. And I would like to also say a little bit more. Sometimes some people talk by giving conclusion first and then they started to explain. That is different style of talking or writing of people's. Some people like to give like explanation, discussion, many of their point, and then they provide a conclusion at the end. Some people like they provide discussion, conclusion, and then another discussion again, kind of like supporting a little bit more again. So different person writes, speaks differently. So if you don't catch the premise, if you don't catch the main concept in it, you will not be able to get the main point. And that is what I would like to say. Okay. The last one's science is based on experiments, on a willingness to challenge old dogma, on an openness to see the universe as it really is. Academically, science sometimes requires courage, right? At the very least, oh my God, I cannot see the slide. Something wrong with me. Yeah, it seems like, do you see the slide? It seems like it's something wrong, right, with the slide, right? Yeah, I don't know why I cannot see the part of that. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, whatever it is for the statement. But I just want to say here, in that respects. ចឹងសូមតោខ្ញុំនិយាយខ្មែរមកវិញចឹងយើងឃើញថា premise ឬក៏ conclusion indicator ពិតជាមានសារៈសំខាន់យើងអត់នេះទេអ្នកដែលគាត់ខ្លាំងអ្នកដែលគាត់បកកែចាប់ចំណុចគេគឺជាអ្នកដែលបកកែចាប់ពេលដែលគេនិយាយមកចាប់បាននៅ conclusion របស់គេចាប់បាននៅ premise របស់គេសំខាន់ពេលហ្នឹងគាត់ដឹងថានៅក្នុងមួយនាទីជួនកាលគេនិយាយមួយនាទី2នាទីកន្លះម៉ោងអីគាត់ចាប់តែមួយម៉ាត់ពីរម៉ាត់នៅក្នុងកន្លះម៉ោងហ្នឹងគឺគាត់ដឹងតែ key message the whole key message បាទគាត់យល់ the whole key message បាទដោយសារអីដោយសារអា key message ទាំងអស់ហ្នឹងគឺវាមានជួនកាលវាមាន key point តែប្រមាណចំណុចតែប៉ុណ្្នឹងអញ្ចឹង key point ប្រមាណចំណុចហ្នឹងគឺវាបង្កើតឲ្យយើងដឹងទៅលើ whole យើងហៅថា whole picture ចឹងបានខ្ញុំបានជជែកដែលតាំងពីសមិញសប្តាហ៍មុនអីថាយើងជជែកមួយគេនិយាយមួយគេស្ដាប់គេទៅគេនិយាយច្រើនគេនិយាយអីប៉ុន្តែទន្ទឹមនឹងគេនិយាយច្រើនយើងបកស្រាយយើងចូលរួមហ្នឹងយើងចាប់ point គេអត់បានគឺយើងអត់ដឹងថាគេនិយាយពីអីហើយពេលហ្នឹងហើយយើងអាចនិយាយថាអ្នកដែលគាត់ចាញ់គេណាអ្នកដែលគាត់ឧបមាថាគេផគេពូតគេកុហកគេបោកអីគឺបានដោយសារនៅពេលដែលគាត់ចាប់ចំណុចរបស់គេអត់បានហើយកាលណាចាប់ចំណុចរបស់គេអត់បានមានន័យថាវាជា problems បាទវាជាបញ្ហាហើយកន្លែងនឹងឯង okay you get my point yeah I don't know how much you get my point so yeah Kumlin you want to say something
No, teacher.
no okay so now let's go to discuss a little more I just want to go through the chapter and maybe we will talk soon later again with some of the discussion with some other topics and what is not an argument. So when we talk about what is not an argument, let's see about something we talk like I said previously. We encounter argument everywhere in daily life. We meet it daily. Argument, we cannot escape arguments. Like at work, schools, in magazine ads, newspaper editorials, in political discussion, TV, documentary on radio, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Telegram, on TikTok, on maybe Bingo or LinkedIn, and there are others social communication networks. So all of this exists everywhere in our daily life. So something counts as an argument when and when it is not an argument, we will know. So one is it is a group of two or more statements. One of those statements, the conclusion is claimed or intended to be supported by the premise. So it has two or more statements that one is supported by another. You know that one must be supported by another. Okay? Like you say, he failed an exam. It's true. Because he did not learn very hard. So that is an argument because you can see that people give their supporting argument, supporting information or reason to claim that is the reason why an individual person failing exams. Okay? That is why an individual person failing exams. It's not by accident, but that's because he did not learn very hard. And it's true. Yeah. Because the reality maybe you know him or her already that that is true for that individual person. He or she did not learn very hard and very strict or some kind like that. Okay, so that is just an example or picture. So 5 types of non-argumentative discourse that are sometimes confused with arguments. Like reports. Report is not an argument. Report is not an argument. Okay. Then I have some example and funny story again. ខ្ញុំសូមនិយាយលេងបន្តិចទៅសូមអធិស្ឋានយើងថា report មេរៀនយើងប្រាប់ថា report មិនមែនជា argument ទេប៉ុន្តែពេលយើងស្ដាប់ report យើងបើគេហៅបទយោការណាបើសិនយើងនិយាយពីបទយោការវិញស្ដាប់ទៅវាមាន argument នៅក្នុងហ្នឹងប៉ុន្តែបើយើងនិយាយ report បាទយើងហៅថារបាយការណ៍គឺមិនមែនជា argument ទេយើងអានវាទៅរបាយការណ៍គឺជា គេហៅថាជាព័ត៌មានដែលប្រាប់អំពីរឿងរ៉ាវស្អីមួយហេតុការណ៍សកម្មភាពអីមួយដែលគេធ្វើនៅពេលណានៅទីកន្លែងណាបានលទ្ធផលអីចឹងបាទ that is a report it's not an argument okay okay or you can say it's kind of ដំណឹងវាជាដំណឹងជាព័ត៌មានបាទ and unsupported assertions it's also not argument so you will read together for this and conditional statements yeah if
Unsupported
I can say if statements conditional so if it is this or that it's not called arguments however if the conditional statement linked with three statements linked together it can be arguments it's complicated a little bit there illustrations yeah explanation kind of try to show more detail kind like try to explain you more information that's what is called non-argument okay
Excuse me, teacher. Can you clarify the second point and supported assertion, the teacher?
Thank you now we move on
I'm not
to
sure.
that. We move on to that thank you so report the purpose of a report is simply to convey information about subjects it reports series of events their aim is to narrate or inform not to reason why one statement should be accepted on the basis of others when the author reports another person's argument not endorsing it or putting it forward as his or her own we call it report because like we say reported speech just reports the information of other as it is then it is called reports so you can see again I can reread it for you the purpose of a report is simply to convey information about subjects it report series of events their aim is to narrate and inform not to reasons why one statement should be accepted on the basis of others when the author reports another person's argument not endorsing it or putting it forward as his own so that is report okay that is report and we move on when we talk about unsupported assertion what is it so when we talk about the unsupported assertion a statement about what a speaker or writer happen to believe he or she speak or wrote some things with their belief such statement can be true or false rational or irrational but they are part of argument only if the speaker or writer claim that they follow or support other claims if they don't follow or support other claims it's just kind of like not argument or non-arguments because when you write something only happenly your belief it's not argument oh I believe this I believe that it's not argument but if you support or you disagree by providing claim against somebody or support somebody in your idea it become arguments in my unsupported assertion យើងអាចនិយាយថា
ជំនឿការលើកឡើងដោយអត់មានគេហៅថាដោយជំនឿខ្លួនឯងដោយ belief ខ្លួនឯងអត់មានពាក់ព័ន្ធជាមួយនរណានឹកឃើញចេះតែសន្និដ្ឋាននឹកឃើញចេះតែនិយាយនឹកឃើញចេះគិតហ្នឹងមិនមែនជា argument ប៉ុន្តែបើនឹកឃើញហ្នឹងយកទៅជំទាស់ជជែកយកមក discuss ជាមួយនឹងគំនិតយោបល់របស់អ្នកដែលគេលើកឡើងកន្លងមកគ្រប់គ្រងឬក៏មិនទទួលយកគំនិតរបស់គេហ្នឹងអាហ្នឹងយើងអាចហៅវាថាជា argument អូខេម៉ានី
Teacher, yes, I got it now.
So the third one is conditional statements. So when we discuss about conditional statement, you can know that a conditional statement is an if-then statement. Yeah, if-then statement. It make up of two basic parts. The statement followed by the word if, which is called the antecedent, and the word then, which is called the consequent. In modern usage, then is usually dropped. In modern usage, English kind of like that. If it rain, then the picnic will be cancelled. So it's just if statements. In the event of rain, the picnic will be cancelled. So it's just conditional. It is not arguments. But if this conditional add up more reasons linked with that conditional, it become arguments. But now we just say only arguments. We just say only conditional statement, only one statement like this. It's not arguments. Although conditional statement are not argument, some conditional statement do involve a process of reasoning. Okay? It involves a process of reasoning, but this, even it involves process of reasoning, it does not guarantee that it is yet an argument. For instance, if we say how is bigger than continuous, and continuous how is bigger than dara, then he says how would be bigger than daras. Kind like comparison statements or conditioning. Yeah. So it's not also.
Teacher,
Yes.
excuse me, teacher, can you give the example related to argument that in a conditional statement that we use if, yeah?
If I say.
Because at the
say
moment you said that in conditional statement we can use it in a human also, teacher.
Yes. Now I am giving examples. I say now let's try this together. If I say if it rain, then picnic will be cancelled. Okay.
This is
non
argument, but I want argument, teacher.
Yeah, just wait. I am trying to give you examples.
Oh, okay. Thank you, teacher.
Dara go for picnics. Dara plan for picnics today. And it is going to rain. Therefore, the picnics
will cancel.
Is going to cancel.
It's going to cancel. Yes.
You see, this is one part of an aspect that link with conditional. Now let's try another example. If you love me,
Wow.
you may chat me very often. Okay? The first one,
If you love me, you may chat me very often. You did not chat me very often. Therefore, you did not love me. It is with conditional, right?
Yeah, teacher.
Yeah, it is with conditional. So like I say, when I like nhóm này là vô mấy cái đó hot nơi mấy cái đó mấy cái nàyក្នុងមួយថ្ងៃមានពេលឆាតមកខ្ញុំ hello សួស្ដីងើបពីគេនៅញ៉ាំបានអីញ៉ាំបាយអីមួយម៉ាត់ទៅរវល់mấy cái đó ប៉ុន្តែឯងដែលឃើញឆាតមកសួរសុខទុក្ខផងនិយាយលេងផងអើយអ្នកឯងសន្យាអ្នកឯងប្រាប់ថាអ្នកឯងស្រឡាញ់ខ្ញុំអត់ logic ទេ I feel like it's not acceptable. For example, like that. That is arguments. Okay?
Yeah, teacher, I
That
got
is
it.
with if statements. That is with if statements. I hope that everybody get the points. You get the point now, right?
Yes, teacher.
Yeah, teacher. Yes.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. So we can move on then. So another is illustration. So illustration are intended to provide example of a claim rather than prove or support the claims. So this is called the illustration. It is not argument because it tries to give more examples, to elaborate more informations, to elaborate more examples. So that is called the illustration. It is not the argument. For instance, many wildflowers are edibles. Daisy and daylily are delicious in salad. So daisy and daylilies are delicious salads just to illustrate more types of wildflowers or vegetables for people who listen in order that individual people understand, yeah, that's what we can eat. So that just give us more information, more types of edible wildflowers. Okay, so that is illustrations.
Excuse me, teacher. Can you explain in Khmer related to this point and give the example of it, teacher? Yeah.
Okay. Okay. អញ្ចឹងនៅពេលដែលគេនិយាយថា illustration ខ្មែរយើងនិយាយសាមញ្ញយើងថាការបកស្រាយបន្ថែមការលើកឧទាហរណ៍បន្ថែមបាទការបកស្រាយបន្ថែមដោយការលើកឧទាហរណ៍បន្ថែមណាការបកស្រាយដោយការលើកឧទាហរណ៍បន្ថែមអញ្ចឹងនៅក្នុង illustration នេះមានន័យថាគាត់ផ្ដល់ព័ត៌មានឲ្យកាន់តែច្រើនជាងមុនរឿងរ៉ាវសាច់រឿងហ្នឹងឲ្យច្រើនជាងមុនឲ្យអ្នកដែលគាត់ជជែកជាមួយឲ្យអ្នកដែលគាត់និយាយឲ្យស្ដាប់ឬក៏ផ្ដល់ព័ត៌មានឲ្យហ្នឹងគឺកាន់តែលម្អិតហើយឲ្យច្បាស់នៅសាច់រឿងឧទាហរណ៍គេនិយាយថាflower ហ្នឹងអា wild flower ហ្នឹងភាគច្រើនគឺអាចហូបបានបើអាចហូបបានបើគ្រាន់តែនិយាយប៉ុណ្្នឹងគេស្ដាប់អត់បានហើយអត់ដឹងថានិយាយពីអីអាចហូបបានហ្នឹងអញ្ចឹងគាត់បញ្យល់ឧទាហរណ៍ដូចជាយើងហៅថាខ្មែរយើងបកប្រែនេះណា daily អញ្ចឹងតែឥឡូវខ្ញុំទាញមកខ្មែរយើងវិញកុំសុំទោសលើកឧទាហរណ៍អញ្ចឹងយើងខាងសុកយើងអាបន្លែបកាអីមិនខ្វះហូបទេបើខ្វះហូបហ្នឹងនឹកដាច់បាយអស់អ្នកខ្លះមិនសូវមានសាច់មិនសូវមានអីហូបតែបន្លែបកាអ្នកនៅស្រុកព្រៃបាទយើងឃើញយើងហូបស្លឹកឈើស្លឹកព្រៃមកគោខ្មែរយើងហូបឧទាហរណ៍ដូចអីអ្នកអាធួយបឋមធេតបាទរួយស្ដៅ
ស្លឹកល្ងា
ហៅផ្កាស្បៃរឿងឧទាហរណ៍ណាចឹងអាទាំងអស់ហ្នឹងអាហ្នឹងសិតតែយើងយកមកហូបបានហើយយើងធ្វើលក់យើងធ្វើអីចឹងទៅតាមដែលយើងចូលចិត្តឬក៏ដាក់ជាមួយនឹងនំបញ្ចុកអីចឹងទៅបាទទាំងអស់នេះយើងហៅថា illustration យើងឲ្យឧទាហរណ៍ថាស្លឹកព្រៃស្លឹកការទាំងអស់ហ្នឹងសិតតែយើងអាចយកវាយកមកហូបបាន
Wildflower
ប៉ុន្តែហ្នឹងមិនមែនជា argument ទេតោះនេះគ្រាន់តែជា illustration តែបើខ្ញុំចង់ធ្វើឲ្យវាទៅជា argument ក៏បានដែរធ្វើម៉េចទៅជា argument ខ្ញុំថាប៉ុន្តែរុក្ខជាតិទាំងអស់ហ្នឹងបើសិនជាអ្នកទាំងអស់គ្នាយកវាមកញ៉ាំញឹកញាប់ហើយញ៉ាំច្រើនពេកអត់មានញ៉ាំអីក្រៅពីហ្នឹងអ្នកទាំងអស់គ្នាអាចនឹងមានបញ្ហាសុខភាពវិញវាមិនមែនជួយសុខភាពវាអាចមានបញ្ហាសុខភាពដោយសារវាលើសលប់ពេករាងកាយយើងអត់ត្រូវការវាអញ្ចឹងមិនគួរញ៉ាំច្រើនពេកទេយើងឃើញទេអញ្ចឹងវាទៅជា argument វិញតែបើយើងគ្រាន់តែជាការលើកឧទាហរណ៍បញ្ជាក់ពីឈ្មោះពីប្រភេទវាទេ only illustration ចឹងហើយបានជាកន្លងមកខ្ញុំឲ្យយើងអានអត្ថបទអនឡាញសារព័ត៌មានខ្ញុំថាអាហ្នឹងមិនមែនជា argument ទេយើងអានទៅយើងអានមកគោកយើងក៏ចាប់បានតែមួយចំណុចបន្តិចជា argument ដែលវាប្រកបនៅក្នុងហ្នឹងតោះនេះ
Yeah, teacher.
Okay, any other people who want to share you can share please no can I move on then can I move on sorry so we go to explanation an explanation try to show why something is the case not to prove that it is the case why something is the case so when we talk about explanation we talk about why is the case not that it is the case okay Titanic sank because it stuck an iceberg Titanic sank because it stuck an iceberg explanation but sometimes it's here perhaps នៅទីនេះខ្ញុំអាចនិយាយបន្តិចមានការលំបាកស្មុគស្មាញមួយតាក់ទងជាមួយនឹង explanation ហើយនឹង argument កន្លែងនេះដោយសារយើងឃើញpremise យើងនៅទីនេះយើងឃើញ premise ហើយយើងឃើញ premise មួយ premise term because អញ្ចឹង because ជាផ្នែកមួយជា premise មួយវានៅក្នុង argument ដែរពេលខ្លះយើង very difficult ប៉ុន្តែវាអាស្រ័យទៅលើអ្នកដែលយើង communicate ពេលដែលយើង communicate ពេលដែលយើងអានពេលដែលយើង communicate ទៅយើងមាន sense មួយថាអាហ្នឹងមិនមែនជា explanation ទេអាហ្នឹងជា arguments អញ្ចឹងយើង evaluate ខ្លួនឯងយើងដឹងថាវាជា explanation ឬក៏វាជា argumentបាទវាជាសំទោសញ៉ាំទឹកតិចសិនវាជា explanation ឬក៏វាជា argument so that is the points that you can see related to this so Titanic sank because it stuck an iceberg and the second example capital punishment should be abolished because innocent people may be mistakenly executed and that is an argument okay យើងឃើញពាក្យ because ដូចគ្នាឯងមាន because ឯនៅទីនេះមានអញ្ចឹងនៅក្នុង example ទី2គឺគេថាការដាក់ទណ្ឌកម្មលើរាងកាយការវាយដំ capital punishment គឺវាយនិយាយចំទៅ capital punishment គឺវាយឲ្យដបងឲ្យប្រទះអានៀបហើយបាទ capital punishment គឺលើរាងកាយហើយដឹងទៅត្រូវដបងទៅបំណងទៅអីណាត្រូវត្រង់ណាយើងអត់ដឹងយើងដឹងទៅត្រូវហើយអញ្ចឹង should be abolished គួរតែលុបបំបាត់ទៅដោយសារមនុស្ស slow ត្រង់ហ្នឹងអាចនឹងត្រូវបានគេ
ធ្វើបាប
ធ្វើបាបរហូតដល់ស្លាប់ដោយខុសឆ្គង
ដោយគ្មានកំហុស
ហើយអញ្ចឹងណាអញ្ចឹងកន្លែងហ្នឹងគឺជា arguments we show ថាវាជា argument តែម្ដង Okay Talide you want to share something No you don't want right You don't want okay that's fine so we can continue អញ្ចឹងខ្ញុំចង់បញ្ជាក់បន្តិចថាតាក់ទងជាមួយនឹង term because នេះនៅក្នុង explanation ជួនកាលពិបាកហើយនៅក្នុងយើងឃើញថាមានតែពាក្យ because ឯដែលយកមកប្រើនៅក្នុង explanation ព្រោះវា show why something is the case វាអត់ prove ទេវាគ្រាន់ show តែប៉ុណ្្នឹងឯងតែបើសិនជាយើងរៀប clear ទៅអត់ស្រួលវាចេញទៅជា argument ហើយកន្លែងហ្នឹងពិបាករកបាទពិបាករកបាទបាទពិបាករកបាទប្រាប់មិនបានគាត់អត់មករៀនគាត់ឈឺ He did not come to study because he is sick បាទអញ្ចឹងអាហ្នឹង explanation បាទ explanation ប៉ុន្តែនៅពេលដែលយើង make a little more point ទៅជា reason more នៅក្នុង reason ហ្នឹង will become arguments okay yeah so explanation have two part statement that is explained to be explanandums okay then you want to know what it means by explanandum it's still explain it's hard to say the other term around yeah when you ask me if there is another term around I can say that it's
statement
I find it hard
is
to really talk and to really explain about that yeah to really explain about that so that it is and the second one statement that does the explanation is they call explainants អានឹងគ្រាន់តែជា part section ដែលគេហៅតែប៉ុណ្្នឹងឯងបាទជា section ឯងមួយគេហៅថា explanandum មួយទៀត explainants បាទមួយទៀតគេហៅថា explainants បាទមួយទៀតគេហៅថា explainants okay we move on yeah នេះជារូបភាពខាងលើផ្សេងទេរូបភាពរឿង explain បកស្រាយឲ្យយើងខ្ញុំ move on ដល់ម្ដងdistinguish argument from explanation កន្លែងនេះដែលខ្ញុំបញ្ជាក់ថាយើងធ្វើការបែងចែករវាងexplanation and argument ណាព្រោះអីវាពេលខ្លះវា complicated ហើយគេឲ្យជាគោល4គេហៅថា four basic tests សម្រាប់បញ្ជាក់នៅក្នុងខ្លួនយើងថា clear ដែលគេនិយាយហ្នឹងជា explanation ឬក៏ clear ដែលគេនិយាយហ្នឹងជា argument ជាតលហេកបាទទី1យើងនិយាយថា the common knowledge test ទី1យើង test ចំណេះដឹងទូទៅដល់ចង់ដឹងថាអាហ្នឹងវាជា argument អត់ឬក៏វាជា explanation យើង test ចំណេះដឹងទូទៅ first is the statement that the passage seek to prove or explain a matter of common knowledge តើអាហ្នឹងវាប្រាប់ពីព័ត៌មានទូទៅអត់បាទចឹងកាលណាវាប្រាប់ព័ត៌មានទូទៅវាជាអីវាជា explanation past event test យើងពិនិត្យមើលថាតើរឿងរ៉ាវហ្នឹងកើតឡើងអតីតកាលអត់អញ្ចឹងបើកើតឡើងពីអតីតកាលវាទៅជា explanation ដូចខ្ញុំថាគាត់អត់មករៀនគាត់ឈឺបាទគាត់ឈឺអញ្ចឹងអាឈឺហ្នឹង past event test ហើយsecond is the statement that the passage is seeking to prove or explain an event that occurred in the past វា occur អត់ទី3 also intended test ពិនិត្យមើលអ្នកដែលនិយាយនឹងគាត់មានបំណងម៉េច third is the speaker or writer intend to prove or establish that something is the case អញ្ចឹងគឺ dương mơ thật ta là cái chi diêm dây nè ta xe nó quạt chi diêm của vô thả anh về chăng và bờ sân chỉ quạt của vô thành chăng to provide reason or evidence for accepting the claim as true ta bất được ọt chăng bậc na cái phép theo something is the case chăng nó vì chỉ ấy vì nơi tay chỉ lẽ cái nát để dương hai thá explanation the fourth principle of charity test miền này tha bởi dương họ bay lượm khơi tới từ argument has a period explanation has a period từ sao nó mọt chẳng là mọt từ chưa kịch nòm chưa có bao nòm chưa là tay và cũng hỏi của bạn kịch của bạn qua lặng tê chứ na yeah so that we say principle of charity test.
Principle of charity test.
Okay, hello everybody, you get my point now?
Yeah, teacher.
Yeah, teacher, yes.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, you get it right?
Yeah,
Thank
teacher,
you.
yes.
So I move on. Oh my god. Đôi gì những chop mê riêng đang thầm là người ta và chop mê riêng đang thầm là người ta chop ấy ăn miên ấy thời to thế đấy từ to sẽ ra tiếp xong mà chia sai bàn này chẳng dương lấy dương chop mê riêng đi thầm nít hơi sắp đá kéo ấy dương chỉ chơi kia mê riêng chỉ bảy tại được những ban chuẩn bị chún trong ná thời thơ bật và hai sắp đáទីប្រមាណនេះ note ក្នុងជីរបស់ខ្ញុំបាទសប្តាហ៍ទី4លោកគ្រូបាទសប្តាហ៍ទី4អញ្ចឹងឥឡូវយើងសប្តាហ៍ទី3អញ្ចឹងហ៎
Yes, លោកគ្រូខ្ញុំអត់តន់
ស៊ីវលេងអត់តន់មាននេះទេអត់តន់មានឈ្មោះទេឥឡូវខ្ញុំចង់សុំឆ្លៀតឱកាសនៅចុងម៉ោងបន្តិចមិញបាទអរគុណមនីពៅជួយ check attendance ឲ្យបាទអរគុណមែនទែនចង់បញ្ជាក់ថាអ្នកដែលអត់ឈ្មោះណាសូមតាក់ទងទៅប្រាប់នៅសាលាសូមឲ្យសាលាគាត់បានដឹងដែរនៅពេលដែលសាលាបានដឹងបាទនៅពេលដែលសាលាបានដឹងទៅគឺសាលាគេនឹង update list មួយសារទៀតហើយបើគេមិន update list ក៏គេប្រាប់យើងឲ្យមកប្រាប់ខ្ញុំដែរថាលោកគ្រូបញ្ចូលឈ្មោះនេះនៅក្នុង attendance list ទៅអញ្ចឹងខ្ញុំអាចដាក់បន្ទុកជូនសម្រាប់ midterm សម្រាប់ final សម្រាប់ assignment អញ្ចឹងណាបើមិនអញ្ចឹងទេអត់មានទុកឲ្យទេហើយមួយទៀតបើសិនជាអត់មានក្រុមហើយយើងសម្រាប់តែយើងរៀននៅថ្នាក់នេះហើយយើងបានជូនតំណែងទៅសាលាហើយអញ្ចឹងសូមឲ្យអ្នកដែលអត់មានឈ្មោះហ្នឹងសូមឲ្យប្រាប់ទៅមនីពៅទៅហើយឬក៏ប្រាប់ទៅសវណ្ណតាលីដេក៏បានដែរតែធ្វើម៉េចប្រាប់ឲ្យលឿនតិចប្រាប់ទៅសាលាផងប្រាប់ទៅមនីពៅឬក៏តាលីដេផងដើម្បីឲ្យរួមគ្នាបានត្រឹមតែ6 7នាក់មកខ្ញុំបញ្ចូលគ្នាចេញជា assignment group មួយក្រុមខ្ញុំដាក់ topic ឲ្យបើមិនអញ្ចឹងទេអត់មានអីនិយាយទេបាទខ្ញុំអត់ដឹងថាអ្នកណាជាអ្នកណាទេខ្ញុំសូមអធិស្ឋានប្រហែលថ្ងៃជាប់នេះខ្ញុំchallenging ជាមួយពេលវេលាមែនតើខ្ញុំ challenging ជាមួយពេលវេលានិយាយទៅស្មោះខ្ញុំធ្វើការងារ5ក្នុងពេលតែមួយបាទចប់ម៉ោងបរិញ្ញាភ្លាមគឺខ្ញុំត្រូវបន្តការងារទៅដូចមិញអញ្ចឹងអស់កម្លាំងប៉ុណ្ណាក៏ដោយចប់មេហើយប្រជុំទៀតទៅម៉ោង10យប់អត់បានបាយយប់មិញអញ្ចឹងចង់ជម្រាបជូនថាការងារមួយចំនួនវាអញ្ចឹងហើយផឹកឡើងការងារមួយផុតមួយដល់មួយទៀតផុតមួយដល់មួយទៀតជួបបាទអញ្ចឹង complicated ហើយខ្ញុំចប់ថ្ងៃនេះខ្ញុំយប់ហ្នឹងខ្ញុំត្រូវអង្គុយធ្វើទិន្នន័យឲ្យគេចប់ទិន្នន័យខ្ញុំត្រូវធ្វើការងារផ្សេងទៀតបាទ very complicated ហើយនៅរៀបមេរៀនបរិញ្ញាថ្នាក់ផ្សេងទៀតអត់ទាន់គិតផងបាទអញ្ចឹងសូមឲ្យអធិស្ឋានពេលខ្លះខ្ញុំ check អត់អស់ទេអញ្ចឹងបានអរគុណមែនតើតាលីដេហើយនឹងនីពៅជួយ check attendance ព្រោះខ្ញុំអត់សូវបាន focus រឿងហ្នឹងហើយអ្នកដែលអត់មានឈ្មោះ
នៅក្នុង G នឹងសូត្រទៅប្រាប់ slide តាក់ទងប្រធានណាខ្ញុំលេខពេលដើម្បីដាក់ topic ឲ្យតាន់ពេលហ្នឹងណាតាន់ទេបាទ Okay yes
teacher
yes okay I think that everyone are well that's really nice ចឹងឥឡូវយើង see you next week okay
yes teacher
yeah yes teacher
Goodbye, teacher.
okay yeah goodbye
Goodbye, teacher.
Goodbye, teacher. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Very complicated.